All right. Welcome back to the college football edition of the No Huddle podcast. It's been a minute, been a long week, but we are back discussing the semifinals, and we're going to get into a little bit of NIL frenzy because the last week has been absolutely insane. We've seen some crazy stuff in the last few days. Some of it's absolutely gutless, but we're going to jump right into it. We're going to get it all through. We're not going to preview the championship on Monday. We'll get another video up, hopefully either tomorrow or Sunday, previewing the championship. It's going to be a great game. Going to be a great game for both teams. Chance to make history. But let's talk about the semifinals first. So let's talk about the Fiesta Bowl. And oh my goodness, what a game it was. The Canes outduel the Rebels in a classic. Miami wins 31-27. And I don't know. I thought this game was going to be close. I predicted 31-24. Miami certainly had their chances. They looked like the way more dominant team throughout the first quarter and into the first half of the second quarter as well. And then in the third quarter, they had their chances to really just put the game away and really establish the run. They couldn't quite do that. Ole Miss stuck around for a long time. But overall, Beck, Tony, and Marion carry the Canes to victory. It wasn't so much of a great defensive performance. There were a lot of shaky things about the Canes defense, but we'll get into that later. Trinidad Chambliss, man, you got to respect the effort there. He really gave it all. His stats won't show exactly how incredible he was, but just a great performance from Trinidad Chambliss if you really watch the game. I think it was like about 270 yards and a touchdown, but a really valiant effort, especially there in the fourth quarter on the last drive looking to get the Hail Mary. But overall, it wasn't enough to come back. Too little, too late, and they just started off way too slow. Like, the first two drives for Ole Miss were 2 3-and-outs. And at this point, you really think that, like, ooh, this is going to be like a typical Miami defensive game of like, they're not going to go anywhere. Same with A&M and Ohio State of being like, uh-oh, like we're in for a tough battle. But the Canes kind of shot themselves on their foot defensively. A lot of miscues, and they didn't play their strongest game at all. In between those two drives, Miami sandwiched a field goal. But then the next drive, Juan Lacey breaks off a 73-yard touchdown that gives Ole Miss a 7-3 lead. He actually gets hurt on this play, and although he did come back, he wasn't really the same player. They didn't really force him in the workload. I mean, they had to throw the ball because they were down at points, but still didn't come back the same at all, which is really unfortunate. And then one interesting thing, Miami responded in a great way with a 15-play drive. Miami actually had 4 drives that were 13 plays or more, which has never been seen in a college football playoff game. That's absurd. That's the Miami football that like we all kind of expected them just grinding, picking up 4 or 5 yards of play, especially with Fletcher. Marty Brown got in on the action as well, but just hard-nosed trenches football. And on that 15-play drive, it ended up with Marty Brown getting the touchdown instead of Mark Fletcher. And then Ole Miss kicked a field goal, so that's 10-10. And on the next drive, it's Canes moving slowly, but just a busted coverage. Beck unloads a bomb to Keelan Marion. And it didn't have to be a perfect throw, but it happened to be a very good one. Not a chance. The defender was catching up to him. He strolls right in the end zone to give the Canes a 17-10 lead. And then Miami had a chance. They forced a punt for Ole Miss, and they had a chance with that under 2 minutes to go to potentially make it a 20-10 game or at least add on. Beck gets sacked on the first play. I believe it was one of the only sacks he took in the game. Completely changed the drive. Miami ends up, they're like behind the 6, 2nd and 17 with like a minute 10 to go. Ole Miss is calling their timeouts. They get the ball back. And I don't know what it is about Miami and this Cristobal team, but in so many high-pressure situations, they play the softest coverage you've ever seen. And it's so frustrating. It really is so frustrating. Anyway, Ole Miss ends up getting a field goal out of that. Lucas Carnero has a bomb of a leg. I mean, that leg is made for Sunday. Props to Lucas Carnero. He made multiple 50-yard field goals. He actually missed one off the upright, but again, it's still a 50-plus yard field goal. And then the second half starts off a bit slow, actually. Both teams start off with missed field goals, and then Miami starts driving again. They get to the 22-yard line. It's 1st and 10 from the 22. They end up getting it to 3rd and 2. And this is when Miami gets really sloppy on offense, and a false start penalty, and it leads to a pick. Carson Beck gets a ball batted at the line, tipped up at the line, and intercepted, and it just takes away 3 points. It's really unfortunate. Not Beck's fault. Just a great play by the Ole Miss players, great play by the defense. And then they come back. Ole Miss kicks field goals on their next 2 drives. Miami was bend, don't break, but still, like, Ole Miss was really moving the football in the second half, and it was something to be worried about. I mean, I was there, like, crapping my pants. I'm like, this isn't going to go well. I've seen this so many times from Miami. But then Miami came back in classic fashion, just marching down the field, and then they give it to Tony on the screen, makes a couple of guys miss, it's 36 yards to the house. And to be honest, in the first two games, and I was kind of okay with this because Miami has tons of weapons. People don't realize it, but they were kind of using Tony as a decoy. And it was fine because Keelan Marion was getting the ball. Mark Fletcher was obviously pounding the ball up the middle. C.J. Daniels and Elijah Lofton had their targets. But Tony wasn't really doing that. And now he is. Like, we really saw him. He was five catches for 81 yards. Also the greatest no catch you'll ever see when he jumped up 10 feet in the air, reached back with one hand, but just couldn't get the toe in. Obviously the right call that he was out of bounds. But this is crazy to say that this is his real breakout game. This is the first time since Notre Dame where we've seen him have an electric game against a very strong team. He had his touchdown. He's had his fumbles in the last two games. He's been very strong, very good for him to not fumble the ball in this situation. He never had a fumble against Ole Miss. We had fumbles in the previous two games. But just this was his true breakout game. He can show that he can do it against a very strong defense, against a very strong team. And hopefully he can do that against Indiana. But after the touchdown, so Miami's up 24-19, they have the softest coverage again. In 6 plays, Chambliss marches down the field, finds Daquan Wright, 24 yards in the end zone, and Ole Miss is up again. And then they convert the 2-point conversion because God knows they can't cover in these situations. And then you have a situation, it's 3 minutes to go, you're down 3, Carson Beck, for all the glory. And in an interview, they asked what he said. He's like, no matter what happens, all right, this is what we've wanted. This is what we wanted this entire time. And no matter what happens, I still love you guys. I mean, this is a $4 million drive. You paid $4.3 for him, and you get a bunch of money for winning this game. I believe it's about $4 million. That's exactly what you want to hear out of your quarterback. A proven leader, a guy with tons of experience, building each other up, and embracing the challenge. That's what you want. And they paid a lot of money for it, and they got it. And again, another methodical drive, converted multiple third downs, a lot of C.J. Daniels targets. I believe Keelan Marion was targeted 4 times. Yeah, that was the most of any of the Hurricanes. Aided with a face mask / pass interference. It was a face mask, but would have been interference anyway. So that was... And then on 2 situations, they found Marion on 3rd down and 10s. One for 17 yards, one for 10 yards. Just, he's a guy that you can turn to, that nobody's really... He's an experienced transfer from BYU. And he's provided a lot of value. And it's crazy to say someone like him, who could be a day 2 pick in the draft, is the 3rd receiver on his team. Maybe the 2nd one. He's heated up more than C.J. Daniels in recent games. But he's so reliable. He doesn't drop a pass. He's always open. And he's a great veteran presence that you love to have on this Hurricanes team. I'm sure he's done a lot with mentoring Tony. So, yeah, just cannot say enough great things about Keelan Marion. And then eventually 2nd and 3, 18 seconds to go, Beck drops back, can't find his reads, has to scramble a little bit, and then finds the wide open hole, runs through. Nobody is in his area code. And I have not seen a photo with more aura than the photo of Carson Beck prancing into the end zone, the Canes fans going nuts, and he knew it as soon as he took off that nobody was catching him. And just props to him, leading the drive, phenomenal thing to see. And as a Canes fan, like, that's the kind of thing that you would hope that Cam Ward would have gotten. The defense was too bad. Can you imagine the Cam Ward offense with this defense? Just unbelievable. They'd be the Indiana of this team of last year. But Carson Beck, again, I said it last week on the pod, but you're finally a leader. You're finally a leader. You're not throwing on anyone under the bus. There's no more miscommunications. There's no, we couldn't, they ran the same scheme and we couldn't crack it. Like, you're finally showing up, and it's at the best time too. And as a proud Miami fan, it makes me so happy to see. You're truly, truly amazing. But then I was texting my friends, the game was not over. And by no means, in 2 plays, Ole Miss was at the 35-yard line. Miami, again, with the softest coverage possible. If you played like you did in the first quarter, you'd force a pick. The same thing that you did with Julian Sam. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. And then you have the Hail Mary. And here's a fact that fans of every sport are going to have to accept. Situations are reffed differently. It's the truth. It may not be fair, and I agree with you that it probably could have been called pass interference, although there was hand fighting both ways. Situations are reffed differently. It's harder to get a second yellow card. Fouls that would be fouls in the middle of the field aren't called for penalties. And NHL overtime, penalties don't get called as much. you let the players play in these situations. And they did. And guess what? It could have been offensive pass interference. It could have been defensive pass interference. I'm glad the penalty wasn't called. It would have been so harsh to do that. And also, guess what? It's not like the ball would go to the 2. The ball would just go to the 20. Like, it's not like it's a guaranteed touchdown. And if that's the reason you think you lost, look yourselves in the mirror. That is not what happened. You couldn't move the ball in the first half. You couldn't stop Miami when you needed to. You missed plenty of tackles. And also, like, Miami dropped 4 picks. Miami genuinely should have had 4 picks. The defensive backs could not hold on to anything. And granted, there were a ton of injuries. Damari Brown's been out for a while. Xavier Lucas was out with a targeting. And Keontae Scott, I believe it was Keontae Scott who was out injured as well. They're all back now. They're all going to be back for the championship game. But that secondary was beaten up. And that is like, they dropped a lot of passes. They were letting you in that game. You were lucky to be in that situation. So that is not the reason you lost. Please stop complaining. And overall, this game was fantastic. I mean, it's tough to say this was better than the Georgia Ole Miss game or either of them, but like, oh my goodness. And Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit are phenomenal. I'm so glad that they got this game and not the other one because, look, I love Sean McDonough as well, but nobody does it like Fowler and Herbstreit. The best duo in all of sports, in my opinion. A couple things. Miami dropped a lot of interceptions. I think it was 4. So they could have taken away at least 9 points in terms of field goals. But the D-line did not do much. They held up. The Ole Miss online held up. Bain and Mesidor, you couldn't really see them. They were generating pressure in the first few drives, but after that, nothing really. Miami only had 1 sack. I believe it was Mo Torre. And it was kind of on a scramble as well. He was like kind of going down and getting out of bounds, and Torre provided the hit. So the Ole Miss offensive line held up. So props to them. They were really the first team since SMU to really keep the Miami D-line in check. And yeah, like the Miami offense kept them in. Carson Beck, Keelan Marion, Malachi Toney, Mark Fletcher, like absolute warriors. And they didn't play like Inez Cooper was horrible. Maybe it wasn't Cooper. Marquise Bell on the left tackle was horrible. He was getting shredded. But still they managed to come through. And he's got to clean it up because I believe he took a false start and a bunch of pressures at least 1 sack. He's a big guy. He's 6'9". Not the most mobile. Keelan Marion ended up having 115 yards and a touchdown on 7 receptions, so just props to him. Toney with 81 and a touchdown, and Mark Fletcher at 133 yards. He didn't get rewarded with a touchdown, but still, just an incredible game from him. Yeah, so like those are like the in-game takeaways, and then Ole Miss obviously with the season of a lifetime, just the best season they've had. They've never claimed a national championship on their own. Claims for share ones that are a bit dicey, but who would have thought that after Lane Kiffin leaving, they would rattle off 2 wins in the playoffs? Pete Golding looks like he's going to be a phenomenal coach in the future. Can't really say enough good things about the team, about Chambliss, about how resilient they are. And it sucks that Chambliss won't get a year. It's probably the right decision. It would be his, I think, seventh or sixth year. So I'm glad the NCAA is making some decisions, although they're super inconsistent. Like TJ Finley is getting a 7th year at 7 schools. That's insane. It's not consistent, but at least they're taking some steps. But overall, just got to be super proud of yourselves. Just a really strong year to look back. The one thing I'll say is they now have, we're going to get into their NIL issue, but boy, they won't be back there for a long time. At least next year. I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs next year. But brutal situation. And a lot of this is caused by Lane Kiffin adding fuel to the fire. So Lane Kiffin, screw you. And then for Miami, U's back. Like, even if they don't win, which their chances are they won't, I think they will, but the U is back. And McAfee said it on the diving board before he jumped in. And they've been situations where, like, yeah, is the U back? Like 10-2 last year. The U is fully back. You've got a coach who embraces the values of the city of Miami, who knows what it's like to be in that program. And he said, I would not go to the grave without making sure that Miami returns back to what it was when I was there. So it's such an amazing feeling to see this team compete, and they're going to be good for a long time, especially with their potential new addition in the transfer portal. But so much better when Miami's good. Really this year, and then back to 2017 with the original turnover chain. Those are really the times where you've seen Miami with their swagger. And when Hard Rock is going berserk, it's awesome. And when the fans show up for these big games, nothing's better. So I'm just stoked to see that Miami is back after all this time. They sold out Hard Rock twice, which is something you normally don't see. Hopefully they can do it again against FSU next year. That would be nice to see. I think it was only 80% in 2024, but just awesome sight to see. And at the end of the day, these fans can do all the complaining they want. The right team's in the playoffs. And it's just another win for the 12-team playoffs that the 6 seed and the 10 seed were dueling out at a classic to go to the national championship. That's what you want to see. Every team's able to compete. That's the beauty of NIL, is you're taking teams like Indiana who've gone from rags to total riches. Ole Miss, who would have thought? Miami, who would have thought, especially 2 months ago when they were in the dumps. Just awesome sights to see. And also, Miami joins Texas as the second team to win all New Year's Six Bowls. So I know they hadn't won a New Year's Six Bowl since 2003, I believe. Maybe 2004. But now they've won. They won the Cotton Bowl, but they didn't need to win that one to get their sixth. The Fiesta Bowl was their sixth. So congratulations to the Miami Hurricanes. Can you say you've completed college football? I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe if they win, they can say they've completed college football. They've got a BCS. They've got a national championship. They've got a pre-BCS era. Yeah, they've done it all. They'd be the first team to really do it all. So that would be a cool sight to see. All right. So enough talking about that. I mean, you can't really say enough talking because there's never too much talking about like instant classics. So we'll switch now to the Peach Bowl, and the Peach Bowl was ugly, and you could kind of, I don't say predicted. I mean, I predicted Indiana winning handedly, but who's gonna stop this team? It's like Miami's the only answer, but this team looks so damn good. They're so well coached on offense. The defense is suffocating. It's not like they're coming in hard and like blitzing your quarterback. Well, they blitz, but not like destroying him. They just lock down and they don't miss tackles. Lockdown coverage. Like they're so tuned. They're so finely tuned and they just do everything right. So you cannot say enough about how strong this Indiana team is. I know they don't have the most talent, at least individual-wise, but they are a well-oiled machine when it comes to coaching, and that goes back to Natty. He is the opportunity to solidify himself as one of the all-time greats. Already, even in 2 years. Google it, because he will be up there, and especially if he sticks around for another 8 to 10 years. I don't know how long the contract was. He's also 64 years old, so it's a long time to be coaching, but he embodies what it means for this town of Bloomington, for Indiana fans all across the country. So it's just an amazing sight to see, and good for Indiana fans. I mean, they're not really that big of fans because they weren't around. They only show up now, but still, good for them. Not a football school, but they are now. And I mean, the first play was the tone setter, really. It was a horrible throw from Moore, but great awareness from D'Angelo Pons. Jumped the route, and you're like, oh boy, this is going to be ugly. And I remember sitting on the couch with my dad. We're like, oh, this is going to be bad. But then it was like, I mean, as Jets fans, we're like watching for Dante Moore. And he leads a really methodical drive. I mean, it was very efficient. It was a great bounce back. Who got the touchdown there? Jamari Johnson. Yeah, right. 19 yards over the middle. Great pitch and catch. And you're like, okay, this could be a game. Wasn't a game for him very much longer. Omar Cooper ended up getting the touchdown on the following drive by Indiana. Again, Mendoza. One thing about Mendoza, the one play he runs so well, and of course it's with Cooper and Surratt helping them out, but that back shoulder fade of like, they'll run a fade route, they'll do a little bit of hands fighting, and he throws a perfect ball to the back shoulder. I feel like it's always on the left side of the field, but he does it so well, and it's such a pro throw. Like, it's incredible. It's perfect placement. The defense knows what's happening every time, and they can't seem to stop it. It's wide receivers able to get separation, and it's perfectly legal. There's a bit of hand fighting both ways. It's not a push off in the slightest. It's just situationally aware football. It's like the guy in Madden, like your asshole friend who keeps running the same play and you can't stop it. That's what Indiana does. And it's so efficient, and it has to be so frustrating for a defense who's like, yeah, we're going to lock you down, but we still can't do it. Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin really perfected this as well, but like, it's Fernando Mendoza does this so well, and he did it all against Oregon. They were just picking on their corners. It was, I believe, 23 yards to Elijah Surratt. Beautiful. And after a couple punts, we saw Oregon take the ball. Dante Moore steps back to throw, and his own running back knocks the ball out of his hands. Indiana scoops it up and they're on the 3-yard line, so they cash it in. So I believe that makes them go up 21-7. They score again. They force a punt and they score again. 4 plays, 60 yards. A beautiful throw to Charlie Becker, 36 yards. Mendoza is dropping dimes all over. I mean, this is a masterclass, and I don't even rely on him that much. He ended up only throwing for 177 yards. 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns. More touchdowns than incompletions. I mean, it's incredible. It's unbelievable that his stat line is so unimpressive, but he's so good. I mean, the touchdowns are obviously so impressive, but only throwing for 180 yards. They don't rely on him that much. He threw the ball 20 times. Can you believe that? What team doesn't rely on their Heisman Trophy quarterback? It's unbelievable. And they did again. I mean, they're up 28-7 after the Charlie Becker touchdown, and they strip sack more again. And they cash it in from 10 yards, or no, 19 yards, 6 plays, 19 yards. Elijah Surratt with a touchdown. They're up 35-7 at half. This game's done. It's already over. They start with the ball at half. 11 plays, and they're in the end zone again. EJ Williams. It's 42-7 in the semifinals. And it's was Ohio State supposed, who's going to compete with them? Ohio State competed with them. Penn State did. But you're telling me the semifinals, they're beating their opponent 42-7 at one point? Team's not human. I mean, it's like watching LSU. I'm not comparing. I mean, actually, fuck it. Let's compare them to LSU. They're not. I don't think they're as good as them. I think LSU would beat them. But, it's the same thing. Just absolute beatdowns in the semifinals. They're a force to be reckoned with. And, they didn't stop. They're relentless. They blocked a punt that led to another touchdown. Mendoza was in the entire time. All they did was force Oregon to make mistakes, and they never took their foot on the gas. Part of me, that's a sign for Miami. We're not coming to mess around. We're coming to win. We're coming to kick your ass. And that's what they do. They kick your ass in every facet of the game. So, again, props to them. Oregon scored 2 garbage time touchdowns. And garbage time, one was in the middle of the third quarter. That's what Indiana does. They turn the garbage time with over 20 minutes left in the game. Just absolute animals. Animals. So, what does Miami have in store? Damari Brown's questionable now. They said to come back, but, he's questionable. Indiana's really, really good. They're just an incredible team. And you cannot say enough good things. You can't say enough good things about Mendoza. And you know what really pisses me off? And again, but Mendoza's just so likable. I want to look at this game and be like, man, I hate you guys. I want to destroy you. But if Mendoza wins, how can you not? How can you not be like, man, this is the greatest story ever? The kid's so genuine. He gets on an interview being like, all glory to God. We're already focused on Mario Cristobal. He's a great leader, great team. I love the University of Miami. I grew up across the street from the U. Oh my God, he's the most likable person ever. And it's so frustrating. But how can you not? And then in his Heisman speech, he's giving credit to his mom with MS. And it's just it's as much as your trophy, it is mine. It's the kid's amazing. He's awesome. It's a shame Oakland's going to ruin him, or Las Vegas, excuse me. But you can't not root for him. And everyone's it's Miami against the entire United States. And who can blame him? Who can blame him? Who hates Indiana? Purdue. All the Purdue football fans are really rooting for Miami. Okay, cool. We don't want you. On behalf of Miami fans, we don't want you. Root for Indiana. They're more fun. Winning at home would be awesome, but Indiana's great. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. And yeah, just an absolute force. Oregon, they just can't seem to get over the hump. And this is back-to-back years where they've gotten blown out to end their season. And don't get me wrong, they're getting blown out by last year's national champion and probably the national champion this year. I'm going to still pick Miami. We'll get to that in the next episode, but I'm still going to pick Miami. But Oregon is not in a bad spot at all. And Dan Lanning is better than 95% of coaches. So the people who are is it time to have a discussion? No, it's not. It's not time to have a discussion. Dan Lanning is a phenomenal coach, building a phenomenal culture. He's won New Year's Six Bowls now. He won the Fiesta Bowl. He's won the Orange Bowl now. He is a good coach, and you stick around with him because he's young, he is motivated. He's probably, 40 years old, and he's already doing this? College football typically is an old man's job. 64. Saban was an old guy. I'm sure Mario Cristobal is probably getting near to his 60s. Kirby's probably, bad voice crack there. Kirby's probably around his 60s. Him and Marcus Freeman, they're young guys, and they're going to stick around their program for a while. So do not get it twisted. He's a phenomenal coach. He's a great recruiter. And, it is now time to have a discussion. The thing is, they just made too many mistakes, really. 2 fumbles, a pick, a blocked punt, 28 points off of turnovers. If they don't make any of those turnovers, they could win the game. 3 of these touchdowns came within drives of 20 yards. If that doesn't happen, we're looking at a 35-22 game. It changes a lot. That changes a lot of how you play the game. It changes all your decisions. You're not making a rational punt. You're not making irrational decisions to go for it on 4th down. 35-22 is not a blowout, but it also changes how the game goes entirely. So, and then the pick 6 as well. I mean, that's a little bit different, but because he made a nice play, as opposed to literally throwing it into your own running back. So if they cleaned it up, this game could have been a lot closer, and it really should have been. But they didn't put themselves in a position to win when they really could have. It was an absolute shellacking, but it didn't have to be. It really didn't have to be. But Indiana, and then for Indiana, you're just flawless, no notes. It's really hard to talk about blowouts. You guys just killed them, destroyed them. I everything I had in my notes for what I was gonna say now. You kind of say before. What am I supposed to say about them? They've said it all. They're just all around amazing. And now we have an incredible national championship. 2 great storylines. Miami trying to bring back their program, hopefully winning at home. Indiana looking to win their first ever national championship, because who would have thought they would be here? 2 years ago, you said that Indiana was playing in a national championship. Be they get a great basketball season, football school now. And with Mark Cuban at the helm of their donations, they're never going to be bad again. They're going to be like Vanderbilt. They're not going to be bad. And they're going to pave the way for other teams in the conference slowly. You think USC likes seeing this? Nope. Because they were on the brink of being good, or being really good. And now, there's another team in their place. Now that the Big Ten has become a 3-bid conference instead of a 2-bid conference, that's just inherently bad for teams like Michigan, teams like USC, teams like Penn State. Actually, sorry, the Big Ten was a 3-bid conference last year. But now it's a different three teams. I mean, Penn State should be fine, but Big Ten's got to watch out, because Indiana could be running things for a while. All right, that's, I think, all I can say about that. They just look absolutely phenomenal. Because this is extremely relevant. We are going to get into the disaster known as NIL and the transfer portal. Because this last week has been absolutely insane. You have over 10,000 kids across all divisions in the transfer portal, over 3,000 of them at the FBS. In the FBS. That's insane. The FBS doesn't offer that many scholarships. So these kids have ruined their college football careers without even realizing it. They think the grass is not greener. I hate to break it to you, but when you're not starting as a freshman at a crappy FBS team, you know why? Because you're not good. You're not good at football if you can't start at a crappy FBS team. As a freshman, who do you think you are? What opportunities do you think are better for you? There aren't. You sit and develop, because that's how you get better. Look at Ty Simpson. He could have ruined his career by transferring 3 times, but he didn't. He developed. And now he's going to be a first-round pick. That is how you do it. That's how you do it. But nobody's ever going to learn. When money's involved, you think you're going to get a bag. You're not. It doesn't work like that. But then we have that issue, which is bad enough. Then we have a whole issue on tampering, and I have 2 instances to bring up that have happened yesterday and now today. Melvin Siani, he was a Wake Forest offensive lineman, signed a contract with them to come back. Yesterday, he announces that he's transferring. Everyone's like, what? No, you're not. You signed a contract. This is the whole thing with Desmond. We'll get into Desmond Williams after. It's a third example. But everyone's like, no, you're not. He's like, yep, I am. Do not tag. Texas, $2 million. And then he's transferring to Texas. You signed a contract. Like, what? Like, where are the regulations on this? It's unbelievable. And then Wake Forest is looking to get the buyout to, like, I don't know what you do. Do you take him to court? Like, it's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And the same thing happened with Desmond Williams. He said he signed a contract with Washington to come back. 3 days later, he's like, I'm out. And then Washington's like, oh, yeah, we're going to sue you. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. He's like, oh, shit, I got to come back. So we did. Like, that's nuts. And then today, as I'm putting these notes together, Darian Mensah enters the portal, and you're like, oh, this is probably going to be Miami. And then you look at the rumored package from Miami, $10 million, four of which is going to the buyout. So that's $6 million to Darian Mensah, putting him in like some country estate where he's going to live. A scholarship for his sister who's playing soccer at Oregon State. What the hell? What is going on? This is ridiculous. I'm a biggest Miami fan as they come. And this is completely gutless. He's a Duke player. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll be ecstatic if he comes to Miami. But, like, it's hard to cheer for him when you know that you're tampering with players. Like, NIL, like, Miami's last two transfer quarterbacks, they were going to the draft, and they're like, no, you shouldn't. Like, that's fine. I'm all here for that. That's what they were trying to do with Ty Simpson. This is blatant tampering, and it's not illegal, but it should be. They need to rewrite these laws fast, because they're absolutely disgusting. And then, my favorite story for how ridiculous this is, and partially for how entitled players are getting, at Ole Miss, there was a leaked paper regarding how much everyone's making, and it turns out that the guys coming in, transferring, are making more than the guys who stayed and came back. These guys were not happy about it. And at least 4 of them transferred in the last 3 days. And it's nuts. At first, it's entitlement. Second, you think you should probably play the players who took you to the semifinals a little bit more than the people coming in. And then third, you have Lane Kiffin speed dialing the entire roster trying to get them to come to LSU. Lane Kiffin, you're the worst! I'm going to back up because Lane Kiffin, you're awful. Leave this team alone. Like, haven't you done enough? Like, you left them in the middle of the season. You're taking all of their staff. Like, absolutely gutless from Lane Kiffin. That's a word that I think I've said so many times in this episode. Just gutless. It's all around gutless. Lane Kiffin, you're such a squid. And rules got to be implemented fast. So, that's all we're going to That's all we're going to cover today on this episode of the No Huddle podcast. Stay tuned very soon because we'll probably get an episode out on Sunday with the preview of the national championship. It'll be a little bit briefer because it's just one game. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoy your weekend. Get ready for the big game. I know I am. So yeah, enjoy your weekend. Thanks for tuning in and go Canes.